Hunt is uniquely trained, a specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. No security he cannot breach, no person he cannot become. There is no secret he cannot extract. Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny, and he has made you his mission.
My team is dead! You have your seatbelt on? Will you ask me that now? On the plane! Open the door! Open the door! Yes, you open that door right now! Yeah, I'm trying!
Morning, Mr. Hammond. Your mission, should you choose to accept it,
You should have killed me, Ethan. We got it.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. And today I am reviewing the legendary DW2901V, famous for its connotations, which we'll get into in just a moment. But I gotta say, I originally bought this watch purely to review. I've always wanted to review it, and I've been putting it off for so many years. I mean, that's the problem. There's just so many watches and so little time. I pulled the trigger on it, expecting, well, I didn't really know what to expect. And I have to say, I am absolutely besotted with this piece, and for which, you know, I'll explain in just a moment. I completely underestimated it, to be honest, and I'm going to tell you why. It's just so fantastic. But I'll do a quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing another favorite, actually. This is my Navitime, the Cosmonaut, my favorite chronograph, and I've put it on the Rios. First time I've worn it on this Rios, actually. If you want to find out more about this incredible German handmade strap, incredible quality, I got it from Holben's. I'll leave all the links and everything, as always, down below, and have a look back at the full strap review for this, and I think it just matches it perfectly. But anyway, we're not discussing my favorite chronograph, we're discussing this absolute beast of a watch. So without further ado, let's get into the history. If you missed my recent two-part special on Casio with the review of the AW158 and 68, as well as the latest full metal offering, the A1000, I talked about how Casio is often misunderstood as mere affordable digital fashion watches. As those who are seriously into horology beyond just watches will undoubtedly know how important Casio has been to the history of timekeeping in the latter half of the last century. So here is a very quick recap to put it into context. Founded in Tokyo in 1946, in 1957 they introduced the world's first entirely electric compact calculator. It was an early digital camera innovator, and during the 80s and 90s the company developed numerous affordable home electronic keyboards for musicians, along with introducing the world's first mass-produced digital watches. This expertise in mass-producing ever smaller and smaller, more advanced electronics led them to be an early innovator in LCD technology and, of course, digital watch technology, incorporating everything from calculators, diaries, data storage, MP3 players, cameras, GPS, radios, solar power, Bluetooth technology, even computer games, digital altimeters, barometers, compasses, multi-band atomic timekeeping, all into wristwatches before anyone else, just to name a few. The G-Shock line in 1983 in particular would take digital watches far beyond all other types of watches and the brand into world record-breaking toughness. For example, being able to take the weight of having a 24.9-ton truck, drive over it, or certified by NASA for space missions, and being issued to elite military units in armies around the world. But aside from their technical achievements and endless list of world firsts and commercial success, one cannot deny the cultural impact of Casio. They are in countless movies, TV shows, too many to even go into, and have permeated into every facet of pop culture, from music superstars, celebrity culture, even adoption by the fashionistas and hipsters. In terms of the particular watch we're looking at today, it rose to fame in 1996 when the first Mission Impossible movie was released, and the watch was worn by the main protagonist, Ethan Hunt, played impeccably well by the supremely talented Tom Cruise. For many years, it was commonly misidentified as the typical G-Shock Square, but with the advent of Blu-ray and 4K quality, you can clearly see for yourself it is indeed a DW2901V. I recently added the box set of movies to my own personal collection and have thoroughly enjoyed rewatching these highly entertaining spy action blockbusters. Tom Cruise is no stranger to making watches iconic via his movies. On screen, he has worn a variety of interesting pieces. The Porsche design PVD chronograph in Top Gun is perhaps the best example. It was also his own watch and worn in multiple movies. However, when it came to the ultra-capable Ethan Hunt, it was predominantly Casio watches, the only exception being in Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol, where Tom Cruise wore a Tudor Heritage chronograph. It is believed it is his own watch as well, and kind of makes sense as it was an ode to the historic Tudor and Porsche motorsport partnership. Tom Cruise, of course, being a big motor racing fan. The Brian De Palma directed first movie was one of the best, and it remains a classic in my opinion, and therefore immortalizing this watch forever in celluloid. The later Casio watches, just like the films themselves, not so much. Don't get me wrong, I adore the early movies of John Woo before he went to Hollywood, but the sequel he directed is not my favourite. However, the Ethan Hunt character turned to G-Shock for the second and third movies, which is a more logical choice and, more importantly, more believable. By the time the franchise was in the fourth and fifth installment in the series, it had really hit its stride. But not only was Tom Cruise producing the films, he was also doing all his own crazy stunts, and these later films had become some of the best in the genre. The sixth installment, Fallout, was unquestionably the best. After rewatching it several times, as well as at the cinema upon its first release, it is technically one of the most superior action films ever made and rivals the very best of the later James Bond movies any day of the week. Disappointingly, however, there were no notable watches, with the exception of Benji, played by the equally talented Simon Pegg. But the DW2901V is not just a movie star. It has also enjoyed a strong following by military personnel and has also been worn by multiple NASA aquanauts on the Nemo Mission 7 team. NEMO is an acronym for NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations. NASA sends groups of astronauts, engineers and scientists to live in underwater laboratories, the world's only undersea research station, for up to 3 weeks at a time in preparation for future space exploration. The most notable wearer of the Casio was Dr. Craig McKinley. He was a Canadian physician, and on February the 28th, 2003, McKinley participated in the world's first telerobotic-assisted surgery, conducted by 2 hospitals separated by 400 kilometers. On the Nemo 7 underwater exploration mission of October 2004, he and other aquanauts tested remote healthcare procedures with the potential application for space travel. The watch has even been seen on the wrist of former FBI Director Robert Mueller, and according to watch forums, it is also popular with the French Foreign Legion too. As always, let's start with dimensions. Now, it is quite an unusual shape, but at its widest point, we're looking at 46 millimeters. The thickness is 13.8. The lug to lug is just shy of 50 millimeters. The lug width is 23 millimeters, but actually on the underside, you can see it is 19 millimeters. So you can fit an 18 millimeter strap onto this. The weight is 55 grams there. In terms of materials, obviously we've got a mineral crystal there, this resin plastic, and a screwed in stainless steel case back. Now it's worthy to note that this resin, I'll just pull in my my own G-Shock here, It feels slightly different. It's a little bit softer. The color isn't totally black, just like your typical G-Shock Square there. And by the way, I'm sorry about the dirty condition of this. I use this for cardio absolutely every single day of the week. It's kind of a very dark off black. It's not strictly black, and you'll see what I mean with the actual black notches there. I'll describe it as a kind of matte charcoal gray, really. Now, it has a very distinctive hexagonal case shape that is thicker towards the bottom than it is the top, and this is very deliberate to accentuate these two bottom pushers, which are of course the ones you use the most. And the layout is exactly the same as your typical G-Shock. It's a 4-button system here with mode, stop start, the light here for the electroluminescence, which I have to say is outstanding. It's very bright, very responsive, very crisp and clear. So the backlight works perfectly well. Also, we have the flash alert mode, which I'll explain in just a moment. In terms of comfort, it is, well, very comfortable indeed, and actually doesn't wear any different to your typical G-Shock. I would go as far as to say it's a little bit more comfortable even for my small 6¼ inch wrist. It comes on your typical accordion strap. There's nothing really to write home about here. If you compare it to a G-Shock, you see the buttons are far larger, much easier to press and use, and I gotta say it's a breath of fresh air, with the exception obviously of the adjust button. So this is very deliberate and is designed to hinder any accidental pressing, of course. Now, one of the most impressive aspects of this watch is its 200 meters water resistance, which is extremely high considering its price and the other offerings in the classic Casio line. Now, if I go through the modes, first of all, we have a multi-function alarm. It's just a single alarm, but extremely useful. And then we have a countdown timer, which also includes a flash alert. So this will start flashing with the backlight. Again, very, very useful if you need to set a reminder or something. Stopwatch, this is accurate to 1/100th of a second. And the capacity here is 24 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Keep going on, and we're back to the home screen. And you'll notice the sound is different. So it's an audible reminder that you're back at the home screen. And of course, you've got day, date, all the rest of it. Pretty much the same as your typical G-Shock. First, second place times, split time, of course. The accuracy, plus minus 15 seconds a month, which is just outstanding. Takes one CR2016 battery, which lasts about 2 years. The layout is very intuitive, and of course you have this central indicator here with the little arrow for the different functions, so there's no mistaking what is selected, what is on, what is functioning, etc. The module inside is the 3231, which is an updated 1189. Now, essentially, they are exactly the same. All they did was update the pre-programmed calendar to 2099 instead of the previous 2029. We also have 12 and 24-hour formats. And as you can see, we have the day of the week and the date on the top of the main time there. Now, despite its IMF usage, strong military following, use by NASA, it was actually originally designed as an ultra-rugged, high-impact sports watch, hence this depth rating, which you can actually go diving with. The retro kind of, I would describe as Gundam robot style, and I'm not the first to say this, makes sense considering the era that it's from. The peak of anime, is it coincidence? I don't think so. The bottom two pushers are mounted on these kind of piston head sections, and this is actually not just, makes it look really, really cool, but it's actually to accentuate them from the other pushers, because these are the two that you're going to use the most. So it really makes sense. And then you've got this kind of braille-like raised dots here, it is not actual braille, but it does give you a tactile orientation of where the buttons are. You can tell which way up it is without even, if you were blindfolded. Is that just clever design, or did they do it to look cool? I don't know. But these ones that are, I'm not going to say high polish, but a glossy finish of plastic, this is merely embellishment to look cool. So while your typical G-Shock is a lot more brutalist in its look, this I would say is more kind of industrial, futuristic looking. Now this is something that is inherently Japanese, but it translates to a more tactical, military, kind of industrial, bold aesthetic. We have this playful selection of colors with the scarlet red frame there, indicative of Casio. Then we have this little dash of royal blue, khaki colored and white text on the actual display, and then this parakeet green printing on the outside of the case. This 80s and 90s sci-fi look does remind me of kind of Blade Runner. It belongs in that world, and perhaps even RoboCop or Starship Troopers. Now the precise date when this watch was released is a bit of a mystery. There are conflicting articles online, but taking Casio's history into consideration and the styling of the watch, I would definitely say it's early 90s. The design language and the use of colors already being well established in the late 80s and was kind of carried on by Casio into the 90s. Some believe the inspiration for this watch was actually the DW2901V, which are still incidentally available. They were smaller at 36 millimeters and only 100 meters water resistant. So what Casio wanted was something bigger, meaner and tougher to take the punishment of literally any sport, but still kind of offering something that wasn't as expensive as a G-Shock. And so this is what they came up with. It even follows the same distinctive shape, but of course much more exaggerated. So let's talk about the positives. Well, part of Casio's success has been the ability to mass produce highly reliable, accurate, durable watches affordably. Firefighters, paramedics, law enforcement, you name it, from astronauts to, anybody doing anything that requires something tough. Now this is no different, but is even more affordable and accessible than your G-Shock, and that is a massive, massive positive. It's a tool you can actually bet your life on. It's a movie star as well, with its very own distinctive style. It doesn't really look like anything else, which I like. It also goes without saying that it is astonishing value. And at the time of making this video, it was priced at about $35 on Amazon, and I'm going to be adding it to my Amazon store, so I'll link that below as well, because I think it's worthy of being featured there. It's a cracking watch. And I do like the fact it doesn't have the raised section. Like if I just bring in the G-Shock there, you can see it's a little bit more kind of fluid, flush design. I like that. One of the big positives for me has got to be the strap. I haven't actually worn it at all on this strap. I only put it on to make the review. You can fit an 18mm just like this here without having to purchase adapters like I did for my my G-Shock, which I just think, well, as you can imagine, as a NATO trollop or a like me, I'm absolutely in heaven. I mean, what did you expect, right? It's also highly intuitive to use. I love the bigger buttons. I never accidentally press them. I think it's very ergonomic and makes a lot of sense. This watch is part of the Casio Classic family, as we mentioned earlier. In there is everything from your quintessential F91W, the AW158, the 68, World Timers, databanks, you name it, they've got it. However, this, without a shadow of a doubt, is the toughest watch in that category. It's the toughest watch in its price range that is not a G-Shock. So let's talk about the negatives. Well, despite its high water resistance rating, it doesn't have the G-Shock structure and levels of G-Shock protection. Although, you know, I have to say, of everything I've read about it online, there are people that have worn these for, you know, decades, and they're still going. I mean, these are hard as nails, real troopers. I mean, this will not let you down. So, is it worth spending an extra $20 and going for your quintessential DW there? Probably. I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends what you want. This is obviously going to be a tougher cookie there. Another slight negative is the green text here on the outer case. It does wear off over time. Not a massive problem, because I've got to say, the ones that, you know, have rarely been bashed about and used, they kind of look cool even without the green. So to me, not really a negative. The only criticism I would like to say is that I would love to see an update of this. Yeah, would I like it to be smaller? Of course, but it's so light and comfortable, I forget that I have it on. So I'm not really complaining about the size. I think this will fit pretty much most wrists. I would, however, like to see Casio take this and update it like they've done with the newer Casios with all this fancy new technology. Imagine a high-end version of this with more of that smartwatch capability. I think would be incredible. So in conclusion, it is a mission you want to accept. It really, I mean, what can I say? In a way, it's a shame I didn't record the unboxing, because immediately out of the box, it just charmed me. It won me over, and I had intended just to buy it, review it, get to know it, and give it away as a gift or something. But of course, I'm probably going to have to keep it, because I just adore it that much. It's an honest tool watch, but kind of makes me want to go on an adventure. And I love the history behind it. I love the design, the look of it. It's so different, fun, quirky, but yet capable. And that's what Casio is all about, you know. Every collection should have a beta watch, and I think this is the best in its class, undoubtedly, without a shadow of a doubt. It might have a slight Marmite effect on some, but I really do love it. And I love the Mission Impossible connection. I can't wait for the next one. I've become something of a fan of the franchise. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. Obviously, I love Brian De Palma's movies. So for me, being a movie enthusiast as well as a watch enthusiast, what more could I want for just shy of $40? It's very much an underrated piece, I feel, with very much a unique identity. With this being so affordable, I think there's no excuse. I only wish I had bought one of these earlier. It's another iconic Casio. I mean, you know, just when I thought I was out, Casio pulls me back in yet again, you know. Oh well, it is a capo lavoro. Absolutely adore this watch, so I very much highly recommend it. It's pure class and top of its class as well when it comes to affordable beta watches. Yeah, there we go. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please do let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from owners of this particular watch. How have you got on? What do you like? What do you dislike? Do share that in the comments. Please don't forget to like these videos. It really does help the channel. I don't ask for Patreon or anything like that. All I ask is a quick like, and I'm happy to keep sharing my watch collecting journey and reviews with you guys. So there we go. Yeah, I'm actually gonna take the Navi off and pop this thing back on. All right, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Ciao.